Yo, what's up, guys? Spencer Sports back. Hope everybody had a good weekend last weekend. We did pretty well on the last card there, so not a bad week to come off of. And we got probably the card of the year, maybe the card of the decade coming up here on Saturday. And yeah, sorry for getting this video out so late. It's been kind of a crazy week for me. My laptop took a shit, and so I had to go get a new laptop. And yeah, so it's been rough trying to get this video out. But anyway, it's really late. It's like 2 a.m. I'm going to try to run through these quick and just kind of give you guys my picks. I'm not going to dive into the breakdown too much, but trust I did do plenty of research for this card, and I'm pretty confident in these picks. So, yeah, I'm going to get into it. But, yeah, I think we got a lot of good spots here, so I'm excited. First fight, we got Mario Batista versus Trevin Jones. Batista 8-1, Trevin Jones 12-6. This is a spot where, I think a lot of people might be on Trevin Jones because he put up, or he got the big underdog finish against, who was it? It wasn't Marab, it was a Timur Valiev, and he was a big underdog in that. Coming in on short notice, he got the finish against him. It's kind of an iffy, he was almost stopped in the first round, but then he came back and rallied. Decent guy, decent fighter, durable. Kind of landed a crazy punch after Valiev gassed himself out trying to go for the finish. I'm not going to put too much stock in that. He's a 12-6 fighter. He's nothing special. Mario Batista, 8-1. He really, he is the real deal. His one loss is to Corey Sandhagen, so, that's a pretty high value loss there. I wouldn't put too much stock into that. And he for as long as it lasted, he did look good against Sandhagen. He hurt Sandhagen pretty decent a few times too. And he actually ended up getting submitted by Sandhagen, I want to say. But yeah. So anyway, I'm going with Mario Batista in this one. I'm pretty confident in that. I think he's a good parlay piece. All right, next fight we got Urus Madik versus Alan Cruz. Madik is 6-0 coming off Dana White Contender Series. Good win there. Looked pretty good, but he's coming out of Alaska and he's got mostly bums on his record. So that 6-0 be a little bit sketched out there for sure. He's the -170 favorite. I forgot to say Batista's -230. Jones on the buyback +190. But yeah, we got Madik at -170 and Cruz, his opponent Alan Cruz at +145. Cruz is 8-3, but this is one. I'm not high on Cruz, but I definitely have a lot of big red flags and question marks with Madik. So this is one I'm gonna probably stay away from. I'm not gonna put any action on it, but if I was to put some action on it, I kind of want to take a shot on Cruz. I think that he got caught against Spike Carlisle, but that was kind of fluky. Took like an elbow to the back of the ear, like right back here, and it was, potentially illegal. I don't think it was really illegal, but like it was kind of one of those blows that was like right on the border, and it does damage you when it's behind the ear. You don't see it coming, and it does hurt more than normal. Kind of shocks your body, right? But yeah, I don't think he's the worst fighter. He's got long range of kicks. Both of these guys have a similar frame. I do think Madik is a decent fighter, but like I said, a lot of bums on his record. This is going to be a pretty close fight, I think. So I'm just going to stay away. I don't think either side has a really good lane, but, if you wanted to take a shot on Cruz, I think he definitely has some good value here and, has a pretty darn good shot at getting it done, I think, against Madik. This is definitely a fade Madik spot for me. Next fight. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Cruz in this one just to go with the dog. So next fight we got Divina Souza versus Amanda Lemos. Lemos -230, Souza at +190 on the buyback. Souza's 14-2 and Lemos is 8-1-1. Fight between two Brazilian girls here. At the face-off, Lemos was a slight bit bigger. Probably gonna, she looks to utilize her wrestling and grappling a little bit more, and I think she's more of a counter striker, but so is Souza. I think Lemos is going to push the pace on Souza, though. Probably put her against a cage. Probably, land some clinch shots, some elbows, some knees, and pretty much just control the fight, and I think that's where she's going to win. I see this one going to the scorecards. I don't think we'll get a finish here. Both of them are pretty high level, on the ground. I don't think we see a submission. They're both pretty tough, so I don't think we see a knockout either. But Lima should be the one controlling the fight, so I do think she's the rightful favorite, and I'm going to pick her in this spot. Another one I'm not too interested in betting, though. Next fight, we got Sean Brady minus 210 against Jake Matthews, plus 175. Brady's 13-0 and Matthews is 17-4. Both of these fighters are decent prospects. Jake Matthews, last fight against Diego Sanchez, and honestly, I was really underwhelmed with him. I thought he was going to come in there and just blitz through Sanchez, but he ended up fighting to a decision, which was kind of bad because, Diego Sanchez, he's a Hall of Famer, but at this point in his career, he's just not it. He's not there. He's not a good fighter. He's kind of looking for a paycheck. So the fact that Matthews couldn't get him out of there was kind of a red flag to me. I don't think he's as good as some people think he is. And then Sean Brady on the flip, he's 13-0. A lot of guys like to fade people when they're, 13-0. And 13 is actually a number a lot of fighters like to lose their O at, But I do think Sean Brady is the much more talented fighter here pretty much anywhere the fight goes. And I think that he's a pretty solid parlay piece. I think he gets this done. And honestly, I think he's being undervalued in this spot. I would expect to see a minus 300, minus 400 price on Brady. So I definitely think there's good value there. And definitely will be using him as a parlay piece. All right, next fight we got Carlos Ulberg versus Kennedy Nchukwu, I think is how you say it. Got Ulberg at minus 260 and Nchukwu at plus 210 on the buyback. Nchukwu is 7-1. Ulberg is 5-0. Nchukwu is a big, strong guy, but he really isn't very technical. He's not a good fighter by MMA standards, by UFC standards for sure. He's beating up guys in smaller promotions, and he guys with not very much experience, kind of bums, cans, if you will. Carlos Ulberg also, he's 5-0, kind of fought cans, bums as well. But Ulberg does show some good promise. He has very technical striking. He's a good counterpuncher, and he does have quite a chin on him too. I think that pretty much anywhere the fight goes, Ulberg's going to have the advantage. And I wouldn't be too concerned with the lack of fights for him. Both these guys are pretty green in that regard, but Ulberg does have like a 16-fight boxing or kickboxing career, 16 wins in a kickboxing career before this. So, he is experienced, and he does have very technical striking. And I think it was Israel Adesanya was very high on him as well. And, he definitely shows that. I think that he's legit, and he's going to come out here. And I think this is a fight that the UFC is kind of setting up for him to get the win. So I definitely think he's going to come out here and knock Nchukwu out pretty early. So that might be a good prop to look at Ulberg, TKO, or inside the distance, or just the under on this fight. I don't think it goes very long. But yeah, give me Ulberg in this one. Pretty good parlay piece as well. Tim Elliott versus Jordan Espinoza. Tim Elliott minus 105, Espinoza minus 115. Not a fight I'm too interested in here as well. Elliott's a guy I don't really like personally. He's a fine guy, I'm sure, but as a fighter, he just doesn't have a style I like to back. I know a lot of people do like to back him, because he does have that, wrestling style where he'll control guys and he'll be pressuring constantly. He's a high energy fighter, but the problem with him doing all that is he does fade. And Espinoza is a guy who's very spunky and quick in his own right. And there's a little bit of animosity between these guys at the weigh-ins. Elliott's bouncing up and down, happy in his face, and just smiling. And Espinoza didn't really like that shit. And he was kind of like, yo, I'm a mess you up. So I'm actually going to go with Jordan Espinoza in this one. I think a lot of people are on Tim Elliott, but he's just a guy that I don't see a lot of upside in. I think that he's just kind of a middle-of-the-pack fighter. He goes in there, he can take a lot of damage, and that's why he survives sometimes and is able to take these guys down and get a decision. But he doesn't do a lot of damage himself. He's kind of got pillow fists. He just kind of puts volume in your face and takes you down and rides on you. not really a fighter I like too much. So give me Jordan Espinoza in this one. I think he's a more technical fighter. He's going to be able to catch Elliott and survive the takedowns. I think he's going to be able to pop back up, and I think Espinoza is going to be able to upset Elliott in this one. Although now it does look like Elliott's the slight dog, but I think a lot of people are buying in on Elliott, so that should change. But give me Espinoza in this one. Kai Kara-France versus Rogerio Bontorin. France is at minus 135. Bontorin is at plus 115. France is 21-9. Rogerio is 16-2. Yeah, this is another one, man. A lot of people I see on Kara-France, and I don't really get it. I don't think Kara-France is that good of a fighter, to be honest with you guys. He got dominated by Brandon Royval. He got dominated by Brandon Moreno. Guys that he was a favorite against, and he should have lost to, or he should have won against, right? Izzy as a teammate of Kara-France, and he speaks very highly of him. But ever since he started, publicly speaking high of him, Kara-France has just folded under the pressure. Kind of, he just hasn't responded well to that. And he's 21-9. He doesn't have a crazy good record. I feel like this is a spot where he could get the win. I'm not saying he can't, and that's why I'll probably stay away from this fight. But I just think the value's on Rogerio Bontorin here. At 16-2, I mean, he's a pretty good fighter in his own right. On the at the weigh-in face-offs, he looked like the bigger man. He looked stronger. He looked, ready and fired up. And I gotta believe that he's gonna come out swinging, and he could catch Kara-France. Kara-France wears those punches sometimes. He'll get hit and he'll show it. And I just think that he's not as good as everybody makes him out to be, and I think that Rogerio is gonna go in there and get either a knockout, an early knockout, or be able to win 2 out of the 3 rounds and get a decision against France. So. Yeah, give me Rogerio Bontorin in this one. All right, Joseph Benavidez versus Askar Askarov. So you got JoJo at 28-7, plus 110, coming off 2 losses to Davison Figueiredo. He's 36 years old as well, guys, which is very old for this division. Got Askar Askarov at minus 130. He's 12-0-1, technically an undefeated fighter. Although one of his wins, or at least 1 or 2, have been pretty sketchy, maybe that he should have lost. I'm not super high on Askarov. I was high on Benavidez, but, I think that the age is finally getting to him, and we're starting to see that decline in him. I don't know if this is a good spot for Benavidez. I think that Askarov is just the new face of this weight class. I think that of the flyweight division, for these little guys, you're probably not going to see a knockout. Benavidez was knocking guys out, but that was in his prime. Now he's 36 years old. He's coming off 2 losses. He's coming off to kind of a life-changing knockout from Davison Figueiredo, and then another one. We saw it in the second fight. That's why I say that, is because he didn't look the same in the second fight. He didn't have the confidence in the second fight. He was scared of Davison Figueiredo, and he ended up losing because of it. And it wasn't really a question. It was immediate, He just didn't look the same. He wasn't ready for that fight. I think he's going to be ready for this fight, but I just feel like sometimes when you take a knockout like that, a loss like that, it shakes your confidence to a point where you're not able to recover, especially at such an old age in the sport of MMA. 36 years old, especially for flyweight, that's a very, aged fighter. And Askar Askarov is kind of the future of the division here. He's a skinny guy, but man, he's got good kicks. He's got good unorthodox punches and stance, and he can wrestle better than most guys give him credit for. And he actually cracks harder than you would think he would with his skinny little arms. So I'm not super high on Askarov, and I'm not super confident in this fight, but I am going to go Askarov to beat Joseph Benavidez here. I just think we've seen the best of JoJo, and I think that he's pretty much done, and this might be his retirement fight. All right, next fight we got Song Yadong versus Kyler Phillips. So this is an interesting one, guys. We got Song Yadong minus 160 favorite, 16-4-1 record. Kyler Phillips plus 135 on the buyback and 8-1. So I see a lot of people on Song Yadong here, and quite frankly, I don't get it. He's got the power. I know he's been a fighter his whole life. Since he was like 4 years old, he's been training. He's been a gold medalist in China. He's a beast for sure. But one thing is, when you start fighting at that young of an age, you accumulate a lot of damage by the time you get this far in your career. Especially, he's got 21 fights professionally, right? And he has a ton unprofessional, like amateur fights. You take a lot of damage in those fights. Even if you're winning, even if you're the best, you're taking a lot of damage. In the way Song fights, he's kind of in the pocket, in your face, and he'll eat one or two to fucking land a counter, right? And I think that doesn't really bode well for him against a guy like Kyler Phillips that is game. He's going to be in your face. He's going to be mixing in the wrestling. And that's the other thing with Song, is that he doesn't have a great gas tank. We see him slow down. He carries a lot of muscle. He's a strong guy. But the problem with that is you have cardio issues. And, you start to tire out. Your muscles get heavy. You get that lactic acid build up in them, and it affects you. You can't throw as hard punches. You're slower. You leave more openings for guys to counter you and stick in those punches. And, I really don't think people are giving Kyler Phillips enough credit. I think that they're thinking Song is going to come in here and knock him out, but I really don't think so. Kyler's proven to be able to take a punch, and he's game, and I really think this is somebody that the UFC is trying to build. And, this is definitely a tough fight against Song Yadong, but I think Kyler has the perfect game plan to beat him. Volume and mixing in those takedowns. I think that's how you beat Song Yadong. You wear him out, you tag him up, you keep touching him, and you don't let him land that knockout punch. You don't let him get close enough and in the pocket. You don't swing with him in the pocket to get that takedown. You strike at him from distance, you chop at him, you touch him, and then as soon as you get close, you get in that pocket, you go for a takedown. That's how you beat Song Yadong. And I think Kyler Phillips is going to do just that and get it done. So honestly, I am going to parlay Phillips in a few of my parlays, and I am going to bet him straight, and I think that he gets this one done. Not sure why everybody's so high on Song Yadong. He didn't do great against Marlon Chico Vera. I thought he lost that fight, and I was on Song that night, but I thought Chico won that one, and he hasn't looked good lately, and I think that he's accumulated a lot of damage. He gets tired. Anyway, I'm on Kyler Phillips in this one, guys. Casey Kenny versus Dominic Cruz. Very interesting fight here. I'm going to take a drink. So Kenny's kind of the up-and-comer here. 16-2-1, minus 135 favorite. We got Cruz at plus 115. He's 22-3. This is one where you got the young dog and the old lion here. And I think that, Casey Kenny's been doing great. But I thought he lost his fight against Nathaniel Wood. I was actually kind of shocked to see the 30-27s, and I think there were two 30-27s and a 29-28, or maybe two 29-28s and a 30-27. But that was shocking to me. I mean, he got outlanded by Nathaniel Wood I think it was close at the end, but in the first two rounds, he was outlanded pretty bad. Granted, Casey's shots were probably doing more damage, but Wood was moving well, and he was sticking and moving, and for one or two judges not to give Wood a round, especially the first round, that was just insane to me. I wasn't as impressed with Kenny as everybody else was. And now, we got to talk about Dominic Cruz. He hasn't fought in so long. His last fight was against Cejudo, but before that it was against Garbrandt, and then before that it was 2014 or 2016 or something. Fucking 5 years ago, man. And so this guy hasn't fought a lot lately. He's been plagued with injuries, but when he was fighting, he was the top of the division. I mean, he's fighting the best guys. You're talking Henry Cejudo championship fight, Cody Garbrandt championship fight, Uriah Faber at the time. Those were really high-level fights. And not to say that this fight with Casey Kenny isn't a high-level fight, but Casey Kenny's not even ranked, guys. And, maybe he should be. You can definitely make a case that he should be ranked, but he's not a title contender right now. And that's what Dominic Cruz has been fighting. And so for Dominic Cruz to come in as an underdog against this guy is kind of baffling. I get the layoff, I get the age, Cruz is up there, but I think people forget how good Dominic Cruz was and really still is. He still has those skills. And, Kenny's not the biggest power puncher. Like, sure, he can crack a little bit, but, the unorthodox movement of Cruz is going to give Kenny problems. He's never seen a fighter move like Cruz. And truthfully, he looked pretty good against Cejudo until he got clipped, right? Until he got knocked out. I know he is just all over the ref on that, and I think that's a little ridiculous. Smell those cigarettes and booze or whatever. I don't know about all that. I think he's a little butthurt about that loss and that stoppage, but he's trying to make some excuses. I don't really like Dominic Cruz as a person. I think he's an arrogant kind of a douche, but as a fighter, he is a good fighter, and he does have some unorthodox movement. He can stick and move really well, and he does crack from unorthodox angles. And I definitely see this fight playing out to a decision, and I have a hard time feeling like Casey Kenny's going to be able to win a decision against Dominic Cruz. I just think that Cruz is going to be able to dance around the outside, pick him apart, and get this one done. So, yeah, I'm going to straight bet Cruz, and I'm going to probably throw him in a parlay for kicks and giggles. But, yeah, I'm going to bet Cruz here. I think that he gets it done. He's motivated. He wants to show the world that he's still at the top, and I think he will. I mean, Casey Kenny's not at the level of the guys he's been fighting his whole career, and I think that he shows the world, how good he is. I mean, this is a guy who has 3 losses in his career, guys. He's 22-3. Like, this is a top-level fighter, and just because he's older, and just because he's coming off 2, losses to Garbrandt and Cejudo, 2 of the best fighters ever in this division, I mean, you can't put too much stock in that. Now, I know I just contradicted that with Jojo Benavidez, but Benavidez got knocked out bad, man. And you saw his confidence visibly shaken after that. Cruz's confidence isn't shaken, man. If anything, it's more than it ever was. And I think he goes out there and shows how good he is, or how good he thinks he is, against Casey Kenny. Next fight, we got Alexander Rakic versus Thiago Santos. Strangely enough, I'm seeing a lot of love for Santos here. We got Rakic at -160, Santos at +135. Rakic is 13-2, Santos is 21-8. This one, I have a hard time trying to pick Thiago Santos. I was on him against Glover Teixeira. I knew a lot of people were on Teixeira, and I understood why, but, Santos can crack, man. He does have the power. He is the sledgehammer for a reason, and we saw it. He almost got Teixeira out of there. And, I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen again. But, listen, Rakic is a much better wrestler than Teixeira. Like, Teixeira was a great wrestler, and still is. But he's slower. He's 41 years old, right? And it was hard for him to close the distance and get in there on Santos for a takedown without eating a shot or two. And that's why he got dropped, right? I think Rakic is going to be able to, throw enough to close the distance and get in on Santos in a hurry before Santos can really land that power punch. And as we saw, Santos is a fish out of water on his back, and I don't think there's a chance that this fight doesn't go to the ground. I mean, okay, obviously Santos has a puncher's chance. He can obviously catch Rakic coming in and put him to sleep. I totally understand that. But I put that about like a 5% chance in this fight. I think that if Teixeira can do it to Santos at 41 years old, I think Rakic is going to go in there, beat up that leg to start, and then close the distance with a flurry, take him to the ground, and probably ground and pound or submit him. I don't think this fight goes the distance. It might go to a decision. It might end up being 3 rounds of Rakic, riding on Santos, but Santos is a fish out of water on the ground. I really would not be surprised to see Rakic finish him as soon as he gets it to the ground for the first time, which I expect to be in the first round. So if you want to sprinkle Rakic in round 1, honestly, probably get a pretty good price on that. And that might be the way this goes. And Rakic by submission even, or knockout, either one. So, yeah, I'm not sure which one it would be, but definitely ground and pound or submission, and round one prop for sure. Might be worth a sprinkle, but I'm definitely taking Alexander Rakic in here. I'm pretty confident in that pick. Maheta, he does have the power, but we see this a lot. If you come in there with a good game plan, everybody knows he's a sledgehammer. Rakic is going to know he's going to crack, right? He doesn't want to get hit by that, so he's going to have a game plan to get in there and get him to the ground and get out of this fight. So, this is Alexander Rakic all day unless he makes a mistake and gets caught. Which is why I don't understand why there's so much love for Thiago Santos, honestly. I've seen a lot of gurus on him, and it's like, he's got a puncher's chance, but I don't understand in this spot. I thought Derek Lewis against Curtis Blades had a much better chance of that than Thiago Santos has in this fight, to be honest with you guys. Drew Dober versus Islam Makhachev. Makhachev is listed as minus 410, although I think he's down in the 300s now. Drew Dober at plus 320 on the buyback. Dober is 23-9. Makhachev is 18-1. So, everybody's kind of comparing this to Makhachev guy to Khabib, right? Because they train together, Dagestani teammates and countrymen and whatnot. I've seen a lot of people comparing this fight to Khabib versus Gaethje. I definitely don't think Drew Dober is on Gaethje's level, and I've actually been shocked to see all the love for Dober. Yeah, this guy's knocked a few people out, but come on, guys, he's not elite. He's not at the top of the division. He's not going to come in here and knock out a guy like Makhachev that has an iron chin, I don't see a path to victory here for Dober. I think Makhachev's going to take him down and kind of walk right through him, to be honest with you. He probably gets a submission in round 1 or 2 or ground and pound. If he wants to just fight to a decision and beat him up on the ground, I think that's viable. But yeah, Dober's going to have a rough night in this one. I really don't see how you could pick Dober in this one, to be honest with you. I mean, sure, everybody's got a puncher's chance, and Dober's shown he can crack a little bit, but does he have Justin Gaethje power and technique? No. Does he have Thiago Santos power? Does he have Derek Lewis power? No. Come on. This is a lightweight fight. He doesn't have Michael Chandler power or Conor McGregor power. I just think that in all those guys, by the way, Conor McGregor couldn't knock out Khabib. This is a very similar guy to Khabib. He's going to fight with a very similar style. So yeah, give me Islam Makhachev here, inside the distance most likely, but I'm not ruling out the decision, so I'm probably not going to play him inside the distance as a big play, but I'm definitely parlaying him. It's a very confident pick. I don't see any way that Dober really wins this fight. Next fight, we got Aljamain Sterling, Peter Yan, first of our title fights here. This one's pretty much a pick-em. Yan's 15-1, Sterling is 19-3. Man, toughest fight on the card for me to call. I like both these guys. I'm high on them both. I think they're both fantastic fighters. In a pick-em fight, in a championship fight, I feel like you got to lead with the champ. I do like Peter Yan. I think he's proven that he does deserve to be the champ. He's very well-rounded. He can pretty much do it all. He can fight with you on the feet. He can fight with the best of them on the feet. He can take punches. He can land. He can outland. He can outstrike. He can out-wrestle you if he needs to wrestle you. He can submit you if he needs to submit you. Now, I wouldn't recommend that against Aljamain Sterling, though. The Funk Master here. Got some nasty kicks. He's going to be able to keep range with that really well, I think. That's going to be the story. Jan's going to want this more in the pocket, and Sterling's going to want this more in the distance. Sterling's probably going to want to take him down or take his back. Don't see that happening, really. He might be able to take him down, but I think the scrambles are going to be there for Yan. I think it's going to be very hard for this to get to the ground. I really don't see it. I think this is going to be a stand-up fight, mostly striking at distance. And I think Jan's going to get the better of him. I like the Funk Master. I think that he's going to be able to put up a good fight, and he definitely is live in this spot. It's a pick-em for a reason. Especially in a title fight, you don't see that too much. Normally you'd want to go with the dog, but because it is a title fight and the champion is a pick-em, right? I feel like the value's got to be more on the champion there too. So I'm probably going to throw a little something on Jan straight up. I think if this does go to a decision, it's going to be hard for Sterling to win. One, because Jan is a good point fighter, but two, because he's the champion. And he's, more than likely the judges kind of sway their round scoring towards the champion. You kind of got to dethrone the champion by a knockout or a finish or a very decisive performance. You do gotta decisively take each round. So for that reason, I'm gonna pick Jan. But this is a great fight. This is probably the fight I'm most excited to watch on the entire card. You could say the people's main event. 3 5-round fights on this card, guys. This is going to be fantastic. I can't wait to watch this card. But yeah, I would be happy if Sterling won. But, for the purpose of the show, for the purpose of, giving you guys the pick that I think is going to win, I do think Jan probably gets this one done. And, you can never go wrong picking with the champion. So yeah, give me Peter Yan in this one. I think that he does enough to retain his title in this one. All right, next fight, Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson. Nunes is a minus 1,100 favorite. Anderson's plus 700. Not too much to say here. They both have 4 losses. Nunes has 20 wins. Anderson has 11 wins. I see a lot of people giving some love to Anderson and saying, she's got a real shot to knock out Nunes or outpoint her. I saw a few people saying she's going to outpoint her into a decision. She's never fought a 5-round fight. How is that going to happen? She's at the very max of this division. She is going to get tired. She is a big girl. Not to say that that's a problem or anything. That is an advantage for her early on, but to wear all that, weight and size and stuff, your body gets tired. And Nunes has been here so many times before, guys, and she's used to this. She's used to fighting a 5-round fight if she needs to, but I truly don't think that this fight is going the distance. I think that Nunes is going to be able to piece her up. Anderson, obviously height, reach advantage, might be able to keep Nunes at bay a little bit. But listen, if Nunes isn't able to find her striking, she goes to the wrestling. We've seen Anderson kind of controlled and dominate in the wrestling. And Nunes is an animal with her ground game and her wrestling game. She will be able to get Anderson down. She will be able to do clinch work, knees, elbows. She will be able to take her down and ground and pound her or submit her. Probably pretty early in this fight. I think round 1 or round 2. Round 1 might be a stretch, maybe round 2 or 3. But honestly, I think Nunes is going to want to knock her out. And I think she will. I think she's going to be the much better striker. Everybody's giving Anderson all this height and reach stuff. But you know what? When you're tall and lanky like that, she's a little bit slow with her punches. Yes, she hits hard. Yes, she can extend. And, sometimes you don't think that her punch is going to be able to reach you, but it does because she's so long. But, Nunes is going to know that. Nunes can take a shot. And, dude, she knocked out Chris Cyborg. She knocks everybody out. If she could knock out Chris Cyborg, you're telling me that she's not going to knock out Megan Anderson? Come on. She's going to knock out Megan Anderson. I know her last few fights have gone to a decision and whatnot. Felicia Spencer's a tough girl. And I don't see a path to victory for Anderson here, and quite frankly, I think that Nunes inside the distance, I think it's minus 340 or 350 right now, is a solid parlay piece. I don't see any other way that this fight ends. I don't think it goes to a decision. I don't think Anderson has a shot in hell. So I am parlaying Nunes inside the distance. If you want to parlay her by knockout, I wouldn't hate that either. Or take a shot on that. Nunes by knockout is plus 100, guys. You get even money on that. That is a great spot for this fight. That's almost unheard of for a minus 1,100 favorite. And the inside the distance is minus 350, but the knockout prop is plus 100? That's just absurd to me. I'm definitely going to be laying some chalk on that. I don't think the submission's out of the question either, and I think that's plus 175. So if you want to put 100 on both of those and hedge with a big bet on the inside the distance, you're golden, even if you just wanted to put, same unit size on knockout and submission, the worst you're doing is breaking even, and if she gets the submission, you're making plus 75 on that, right? So just food for thought there. Definitely some good spots in that fight that I don't think people are talking about. People are saying, oh, you can't touch this fight. You can touch this fight pretty confidently and get some good money out of it on the Nunes side. So keep that in mind, guys, for sure. All right, we're going to move on to the main event here. Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz. Adesanya trying to become the two-division champ against Jan Blachowicz. Hold on, I'm going to take another drink real quick. So I think, Adesanya's at minus 230. Blachowicz is plus 190. Obviously, Blachowicz is going to be the bigger guy. He's going to have more muscle. He's going to be stronger. If this does get into a clinch or a grappling game, he's going to have the advantage. He's probably going to have the power advantage as well. But we're used to that in Israel Adesanya fights, right? Romero had the power advantage. Costa had the power advantage. This isn't something new for Adesanya. He's seen this before. He's fought bigger guys before. And after his performance against Costa, Costa can make whatever excuses he wants. He didn't look good in that fight. I'll give him that. It wasn't the Costa we're used to seeing. For whatever reason that was for, he looked great. He managed that fight perfectly. He attacked perfectly to the legs. He picked his shots well. He got out of the range when he needed to. He was accurate and precise, just like he always preaches. I don't really see it being any different here. I see some love for Jan, definitely. I see a lot of people putting money on Jan. I don't see it. This guy was almost cut from the UFC before he went on his crazy run there where he's knocking guys out. But before that, Jan Blachowicz was a very middle ground fighter, He wasn't anything special. And I think the light heavyweight division, honestly, has been a little bit weak as of late. Dominic Reyes, not a great fighter. He took John Jones to the distance, right? And a lot of people thought he won that fight, but, I don't think John Jones is what John Jones used to be either. I don't know what was wrong with him in that fight, but he did not look good. He did not look like the John Jones we used to we're used to seeing. And quite frankly, he hasn't looked like the John Jones we're used to seeing for a while. So, I don't know. Obviously people bought into that performance by Reyes and bet him like crazy against Blachowicz. Blachowicz just went in there and knocked him out easy as hell. I don't think that he's going to go in there and knock Adesanya out for sure. But I think people are kind of overestimating Blachowicz now based off of that. I think people are overestimating Reyes, and now that he beat Reyes, they're overestimating Jan. And, I don't see it for Blachowicz here. I think that Adesanya gets this one done pretty handedly. Adesanya by knockout is a great look in this fight. I think it's like plus 175 or something like that. It's kind of ridiculous. I do have that in a parlay. I don't see this one going the distance. I think Adesanya will pick his shots. He will dance around and kind of pick Jan apart. But Jan's going to move forward. He knows he's not going to win this by decision. He's going to try to knock Adesanya out. And I think he's kind of taken some problem with Adesanya thinking he can just come up here and beat him up, and take his belt and become the two-division champ. I think that kind of pisses Blachowicz off. I think he's going to want to go out there and knock him out. Do I think he's going to get the knockout? No. But what that means is he's going to be coming forward to Adesanya, and what's Adesanya do best? He counter-strikes, He's a great counter-striker. If you're going to push the pace on him, he's going to catch you. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to knock Blachowicz out here. I'm pretty confident in it, honestly. I'm parlaying Israel Adesanya straight up for safety, but I'm also taking a small parlay shot on him by knockout. And I will probably take a straight shot on him by knockout, and I will probably take a straight shot on him under 3 rounds, Probably sprinkle the round 1 and 2 props. Maybe the round 3. But yeah, I don't think this goes the distance, and I think Adesanya kind of pieces him apart in this one and comes away with that knockout, baby. So, yeah, give me Adesanya by knockout to end the card, and wish you guys the best of luck on your best this weekend. Hopefully, you have time to check out this video before the fight started. I think they start at like 4:15 Central Time. But yeah, good luck this weekend, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, let me know in the comments section who you got. If you agree with my picks or you disagree, let me know. Love to talk about it. Love to hear other opinions and sides. But yeah, hope you guys all enjoy the card. I know I'm going to. It's going to be a great one, and can't wait for it. All right, see you later, guys.